My stepson told me to keep my voice down. This isn't your house. So I handed the title to his mother, removed my name from every utility, and walked out with the keys. They lost power, internet, hot water, and the only man who ever showed up. They learned who the house really belonged to. Keep your voice down. This isn't even your house. The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. They landed clean, surgical, straight to the bone. Luke said it while leaning against the fridge, bare feet, arms crossed, that teenage slouch that says I'm untouchable. His eyes weren't angry. That would have made it easier. Anger is honest. This wasn't. This was indifference. Indifference is colder than hate. You can't fight what won't even look at you. He said it with his mother 10 feet away. She stood by the stove, eyes cast downward, fiddling with the burner that never lights on the first click. She heard him. I know she did. But she didn't speak. She didn't flinch. She just let the moment pass through her, like smoke through a window left ajar. I didn't respond. Not to him. Not to her. Not to the room that had swallowed me whole. I walked to the drawer by the sink, third one down, next to the broken corkscrew we never threw out, and pulled the file folder labeled property. I placed the deed on the counter, flat and clean, right in front of Rachel. Then it's all yours now, I said. No yelling, no rage, no demand for apology. Only the quiet punctuation of a man walking off a battlefield he never chose. Then I left, took the keys, shut off the porch light, didn't even pack a bag. When a house spits you out, you don't ask for a suitcase. 3 years. 3 years of laying bricks in the rain, of wiring their comfort into every outlet, of learning how to be a husband and a stand-in father at the same time, of turning myself into a shadow so the boy wouldn't feel replaced. I met Rachel in early spring 3.5 years back. I was new to Cedar Rapids, new to quiet winters, to slow sidewalks, to neighbors who wave but never ask questions. She had a laugh like loose gravel and eyes that knew how to dodge pain. She told me she'd been through hell. I didn't ask for details. Some stories don't need to be told out loud. You hear them in the way a woman holds her shoulders. Luke was 14 when I moved in. Half boy, half resentment. Every step I took in that house felt like trespassing. Still, I tried. Not to win him over, that was never my mission. I just tried to be steady, present. Not another name that vanished when the pressure came. I paid for his gym membership when he said he wanted to bulk up. Bought him noise-canceling headphones so he could focus during tutoring. Spent 2 weekends under his car teaching him how to bleed the brakes, even though he never said thanks. Every bill, electric, gas, water, internet, trash, was in my name. Even the washer. The old one shook the floorboards like a train when it ran. So I replaced it. Quietly. No ribbon. No announcement. Just another invisible fix. They never asked me to do these things. That's what made them real. Because I wasn't trying to play dad. I wasn't trying to be loved. I just wanted to be part of something that made sense. A house. A rhythm. Place to belong. But you can't build a home where the foundation rejects you. I remember once, maybe a year in, Rachel told me I was too sensitive. She said it after Luke made some offhand jab about mom's boyfriend pretending to be in charge. I had told him to take the trash out. Simple. Routine. She laughed it off at first, then said I shouldn't take things so personally. But I did. Because you can only be told you're temporary so many times before the walls feel rented. I kept trying, though. Family dinners. Yard work. School projects. When Luke got sick last winter, I drove to 3 different pharmacies in the snow just to find the brand of cough syrup he liked. He didn't say thank you. Didn't even look up from his phone when I handed it to him. Rachel called it just being a teenager. But teenagers know who feeds them. And they know how to say thanks when they want to. Every time I tried to draw a line, it got erased. When I brought up chores, don't be so controlling. When I mentioned money, it's not about that. When I asked for help, why are you making things harder? But I wasn't trying to control. I was trying to belong. I was trying to earn, day by day, the kind of respect that doesn't come with marriage vows. Because respect is never inherited. It's negotiated. And every negotiation ended with me conceding. I told myself it was worth it. That time would smooth out the sharp edges. That one day Luke would see the difference between a man who stays and a man who ghosts. But boys raised on absence sometimes mistake silence for strength. And women who survive disappointment learn to lower their expectations until silence feels like safety. So when Luke told me, in my kitchen, under my roof, to keep my voice down, and reminded me that the house wasn't mine, I realized something I should have accepted much earlier. I was a guest, contractor, placeholder, not a father, not a partner, just a man covering costs and taking blame. And when Rachel said nothing, not even a whisper of protest, I knew the balance was never there to begin with. You can't fix a family if no one else wants it built. He didn't even pause when he said it. Keep your voice down. This isn't your house. Not please calm down. Not don't yell. Not even chill out. No, he chose his words. Precise. Loaded. Surgical. That sentence wasn't about volume. It was about removal. He didn't mean quiet. He meant know your place. Rachel was in the room. Right there. But she didn't say a word. That was the moment. Not his words, hers. Or rather, the silence where her words should have been. Because when your wife watches her son call you a stranger in your own home and does nothing, that's not oversight. That's approval. She didn't flinch. Didn't reach for my hand. Didn't say, Luke, apologize. She just stood there, one hand on the edge of the counter, the other wrapped around her coffee mug, as if it were just another Tuesday. Like it was background noise. Like I was background noise. I walked out of that kitchen slower than I wanted to. Not because I wasn't angry, but because anger would have made it easier. I wanted them to think I was calm. Wanted them to believe this was just another conversation I'd forget by tomorrow. I went to the garage. The door creaked as always. Passed by the shelves I'd built. The workbench I paid for. The socket set Luke left out last week. Still greasy. I opened the cabinet where I kept my old banker's box, the one with the serious stuff. Deeds. Insurance papers. Spare keys. All the evidence that I was more than just furniture. I pulled out the folder with the house title. Held it for a minute. Then walked back inside. Luke had gone upstairs. Rachel hadn't moved. I placed the deed on the kitchen counter. No words. Just paper. She glanced at it. Read the name at the top. My name. Then I said it. Then it's all yours now. She didn't respond. Her eyes just went still. But not surprised. That's the part I'll never forget. Not anger. Not confusion. Just stillness. Like part of her had always expected this moment. Like part of her had rehearsed for it. I walked out. Got in the truck. Drove around the block twice, just to breathe. Then I pulled over and started making calls. First, the power company. Effective immediately, I said. Terminate the account. Gave them the address. Verified the security code. Just me at this address? The woman asked. Not anymore, I said. Then the gas. Then the water. Internet took longer. They always try to keep you with deals. I didn't yell. Didn't curse. Just went system by system, connection by connection, and shut it all down. Insurance on the car I was still paying for? Gone. Streaming services? Cancelled. Cloud storage that backed up their phones every night? Disconnected. I even shut off the Spotify family plan. I sat in the truck for a long while after that. Not thinking. Not regretting. Just breathing. The way you breathe when something finally stops crushing your chest. That night, I checked into a lakeside motel. Room 205. Queen bed. Brown carpet. No art on the walls. But the water was hot. And the silence was holy. I didn't bring much. Just my tools. My paperwork. My name. The next morning, I woke to a flurry of missed calls. Rachel. 3 voicemails. Luke. Just 1. I didn't listen to them. Instead, I watched the emails roll in. Confirmation notices. Cancellations. Service terminations. The digital footprint of a man leaving a house that never saw him as part of it. At 7:12 a.m., the power went out. I know the exact time because I watched it on the security app. Camera feed cut to black. 15 minutes later, internet. Gone. By 8 a.m., the gas had shut off. No stove. No hot water. No distractions. They didn't text me immediately. At first, they probably thought it was a storm. Or a glitch. But there was no storm. And the only glitch was the assumption that I'd keep paying for my own erasure. By noon, I got the first message from Luke. Hey, the Wi-Fi is down. Can you check? I didn't reply. 3 hours later. Power's out too. Is it something with the breaker? Still nothing. By evening, Rachel called again. I watched the screen light up. Didn't answer. The man you call nothing doesn't owe you everything. It was strange how fast the house turned feral. By the second day, I started getting reports from the alarm company. Door open too long. Fridge temp warning. Garage code reset attempts. Rachel tried logging into my accounts. Didn't work. I'd already changed everything. Passwords. Billing info. Recovery emails. All of it. She was locked out just like I had been. Only difference was, she still had the roof. For now. That night, I imagined them eating cold leftovers by candlelight. No Netflix. No heating. Just silence. The kind they used to weaponize against me. Now it was just theirs. Day 3. Luke messaged again. This time it wasn't a question. It was a statement. Wow. So you're just cutting us off? Still no reply. Because when a child tells you you're not his father, and a woman lets him, you don't explain your silence. You let it teach. I wasn't punishing them. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I was simply adjusting the math. You subtract a man, you subtract what he brings. And if all I ever brought was invisible until it vanished, then maybe that's the only way they'd see it. Later that week, I started getting texts from numbers I didn't recognize. Probably Rachel's friends. Probably her sister. Please be reasonable. They need time. Don't make this harder than it has to be. No one ever asked if I was okay. No one said, we didn't realize what you were carrying. That's the thing about men like me. Our absence speaks louder than our presence ever did. I walked into that house 3 years ago believing in balance. Believing that effort leads to belonging. That sacrifice earns respect. Turns out it only earns expectation. You pay one bill, you're expected to pay the next. You fix one thing, you're expected to fix everything. You show up, they stop thanking you for showing up. I became the floor beneath their feet. Steady. Silent. Forgotten. Until I moved. And suddenly everyone lost their balance. The neighbors noticed first. The flicker of candlelight through the window. 3 nights in a row. Rachel outside, wrapped in a coat, tapping at her phone like reception would conjure heat. Luke filling buckets with water from next door. Too proud to explain. Too cold to care who was watching. A home without power has a smell. Like melted ice, mildew. The sour breath of rotting food behind a shut fridge door. I imagine them moving through it. My house. Bundled in blankets, stepping over cables like relics. Every room echoing with the absence of convenience. No hum of heat vents. No glow from the TV. No warbled music leaking from Luke's bedroom. That's what independence looks like when the lights go out. You wanted autonomy? Here. Have it in the dark. Day 5. A new text from Luke. How did you even afford all of this for so long? 8 words. No punctuation. No anger this time. It wasn't defiance. It was curiosity. A quiet confession hidden in the question. How? It was the first time he had ever wondered. Not just what I gave, but what it cost me. I didn't reply. I screenshotted the message. Forwarded it to Rachel. No caption. No guilt trip. She wrote back hours later. You're right. We get it now. But getting it isn't the same as owning it. And you're right isn't an apology. It's a white flag without terms. I read her message once, then deleted it. She hadn't called me in days. Not since the first night. No begging. No pleading. No confrontation. Just a slow collapse under the weight of their own entitlement. I spent my 6th night in the motel pacing the room. It wasn't anger anymore. It was clarity, the kind that only comes after exhaustion. For years, I'd held them above water. Now they were treading for the first time, choking on the very silence they used to weaponize. The next morning, I drove past the house. Didn't stop. The lawn was scattered with wet footprints. The trash bins were still full from last week. Someone had parked too close to the mailbox. It looked like a house trying to impersonate a home. I saw Rachel through the window, blanket wrapped around her shoulders, face glowing blue from a laptop, probably at 10% battery. I kept driving. That afternoon, another text from Luke. I need to talk to you. Still no, please. Still no ownership. But that's the nature of boys raised on credit. They don't understand what things cost until they're handed the bill. And even then, they want to renegotiate. I didn't answer. Instead, I called the bank. Told them to freeze the joint account Rachel and I had shared. I'd already stopped the mortgage payments. That house wasn't my weight anymore. They had 2 weeks until it defaulted. 3 if the grace period held. Let them find out what keeping a roof takes. By week's end, Rachel sent a new message. Can we meet? That one I read twice. It didn't sound like guilt. It sounded like logistics. I waited a day, then replied, neutral ground, public. We met at the diner near the highway, the one with the cracked leather booths and terrible coffee. She looked tired, the kind of tired that sinks into the bones. Hair in a bun, makeup smudged, no wedding ring. Luke's scared, she said. I sipped my coffee, didn't respond. He's trying to act like he's okay, but she shook her head, looked out the window. He's a kid, Michael. He's 17, I said, old enough to know the cost of words. She looked at me then, eyes glossy. He didn't mean it. I held her gaze. That's the thing about truth. Once it's said, it can't be unsaid. It just waits. And it waits until someone finally pays for it. Rachel sighed. I didn't stop him. I know that. I should've. You didn't need to stop him. I cut in. You just needed to stand next to me. Silence. A long, open wound of silence. I thought I was, she whispered. You weren't. She reached into her bag, pulled out a folder. I'm selling the house, she said. I can't keep it. Not with everything in your name. I didn't reach for the folder. Just watched her slide it across the table like an apology disguised as paperwork. I'll move in with my sister, she added. Just until I figure things out. Luke's looking for a job. A pause. Then, like a candle flickering before death. Do you hate us? I didn't answer. Not right away. Because hate would have meant I still wanted something from them. Hate is an investment. And I'd stopped investing the night they drew the line. No, I said finally. But I'm done paying for a story I don't get to write. We sat there for a while. The waitress refilled my coffee. Rachel didn't touch hers. She left first. Took the folder with her. Outside, I watched her get in the car. Luke was in the passenger seat. Hoodie up, face turned away. He didn't look at me, but he didn't look angry either. Just smaller. Later that week, a for sale sign went up in the yard. By Monday, the power company had reversed the shutdown. New account. New name. Not mine. I kept getting updates. Not from Rachel. Not from Luke. But from the city, the bank, the people who saw me as the paper behind the place. It sold within a month. Cheap. Whoever bought it probably thought they scored a deal. They didn't see the ghosts in the walls. The resentment baked into the paint. The weight of a man who gave everything and got erased anyway. That weekend, I drove out to the lake. No motel this time. Just the dock. I sat there with a six-pack and a silence I didn't have to share. For once, I didn't check my phone. Didn't scroll. Didn't wait. I watched the sun sink into the water and wondered, how many men are still paying for lives they were never allowed to live? How many stepfathers have turned off the lights quietly and disappeared from the story like they were never there? Luke had asked me how I afforded it all. Here's the truth. I didn't. I bled for it. Every hour of overtime. Every canceled vacation. Every time I bit my tongue instead of defending myself. because I didn't want to drive a wedge between Rachel and her son. Every day I showed up despite knowing I wasn't wanted. I didn't afford it. I offered it. And when they called me nothing, I finally believed them. Now they can live with what they built on my back. 1 month later I got a letter. Real paper. No return address. Neat handwriting I recognized immediately. Rachel's. Inside, folded with precision, was a copy of the house sale agreement. Signed. Notarized. Closed. A yellow post-it stuck to the top corner. Thought you should have this. Nothing else. No apology. No explanation. Just proof. A receipt for the silence I left behind. I stared at the deed for a long time. That house had taken everything from me. My time, my labor, my dignity. And now it belonged to someone else. A clean slate with fresh paint and no memory. But houses remember. They remember the weight of tired men and the quiet resentment of unspoken debts. They remember who paid the winter heating bill, who fixed the sink at midnight, who stood alone in the hallway with a credit card in hand while others slept comfortably. I folded the deed back into the envelope. Didn't tear it. Didn't burn it. I just placed it on the motel nightstand and turned off the light. The next morning I saw Luke. I was walking down 2nd Avenue, heading toward the hardware store. I'd taken a small renovation gig on the west side, just to stay busy. And there he was, coming out of a cafe with a to-go cup, his apron still half-tied around his waist. He looked thinner, older, not in years, in weight. That weight that sits in your gut when the person you relied on finally steps away. He saw me, hesitated, then approached. I was out of line, he said. I get it now. His voice wasn't loud, wasn't performative. There was no one around to impress. No mother nearby to defend him. Just a young man standing in front of the ghost he created. I nodded, not out of forgiveness, not because I wanted reconciliation, but because I heard him. That was all. That was enough. He didn't ask for anything, didn't beg, didn't try to rewrite the past in a softer font. He just stood there in the cold and said what needed saying. I watched him walk away, back to the cafe, back to the minimum wage penance he was now paying. And for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel sorrow. I felt peace. Not the kind that heals, the kind that ends. I moved out of the motel 2 weeks later. Found a small apartment above a barber shop. 1 bedroom, clean kitchen, no family photos on the walls. I don't miss the noise. I don't miss the subtle humiliations. The way they always deferred to Rachel. The way Luke's friends would call me Mike, like I was a neighbor passing through. I live quiet now, get up early, brew my coffee, watch the sun rise over cracked rooftops and power lines. Sometimes I see fathers with their sons at the diner across the street. Real fathers. Biological. Sometimes they fight. Sometimes the boys roll their eyes, huff, glare. But there's something different in the way they argue. A bond no insult can shatter. Blood doesn't erase cruelty, but it buys margin. Stepfathers don't get margin. We get contracts with invisible ink. We get terms that change without notice. We get love on lease and respect on credit. And the moment you stop performing, the moment you say, I'm not your doormat, the whole house turns on you like you set fire to the living room. You can give a boy 3 years of support, 3 birthdays paid for, 3 winters of shoveling snow while he sleeps in, and still be told you're not part of the story, because you don't share his last name, because you weren't there when he lost his first tooth, or cried at his first scraped knee, because he didn't choose you, his mother did. And in that hierarchy you're always second, unless he decides you're not even that. Luke did the math. He waited until he was strong enough to speak without needing me. And then he erased me. Rachel watched it happen. Let it happen. She'll live with that. Or she won't. It's not my concern anymore. I see people on forums talk about blended families. They say it takes patience, sacrifice, grace. They say it takes time. What they don't say is what it takes from you. The years you lose, the pride you bury, the names you let slide. All in service of a harmony that only exists if everyone believes in it. Mine didn't, And so I left. No applause, no confrontation, just the sound of utility services being disconnected in sequence, like dominoes falling in the dark. Sometimes people ask, would you ever go back? Would you give it another chance? Here's my answer. You don't rebuild on rotten beams. You don't repaint a wall that's cracked beneath the surface. You don't rejoin a family that never made space for your name. Luke's working now. Rachel's renting. The house is gone. And I've become what they said I was. No one. And in that void, in that erasure, I found freedom. Because sometimes to be heard, you have to go completely silent. Sometimes to teach respect, you have to walk away without a backward glance. And sometimes, for them to understand who really owned the house, who built it, who held it together, who paid for the walls they felt so safe within, you have to let it fall, let it burn, let them sit in the ashes and wonder why the heat is gone. So now I ask you, was I wrong? Was I cruel to stop financing my own erasure? Was I heartless for expecting gratitude before another check? Was it selfish to finally say, no more? Or was it the only way left to teach them that the roof over your head isn't just lumber and nails? It's sacrifice. It's presence. It's love paid in full. So tell me, would you have endured it? Or would you have done what I did and walked out of the house they never let you call home?